Hi guys! Okay, today's topic is John Clute's illustrated science fiction encyclopedia. Now, there are two versions of this. There is the unillustrated version, and there's the illustrated version. I feel, because I have downloaded the unillustrated one, and I feel that this one is, like the illustrated one, is a lot more easier to read. Like, it's a lot more sectioned off. And I think it just makes for a more enjoyable reading experience. So this is the one I'm recommending. Okay, how I came across it. My dad owned it, and he gave it to me. Yeah. What I've read thus far, I've read write-ups on a lot of the major authors, and write-ups on a lot of the classic titles. I also have downloaded a lot of the books mentioned in the major authors section and in the classic titles section, and I've also read the introduction. Who I would recommend it for? People wondering. If science fiction could be summed up in one word, I'm not even kidding. Wonder. It's true. And I'm pretty sure this book is what gave me that idea. But not a facts channel. Take what I say with a grain of salt. But anyway, people wondering, like, what is out there? Where could we go? What could technology become? What could we create? How our society could change? Like, I don't know, let's say that there's some virus that goes out and, I don't know, we end up living in like a Walking Dead scenario. I don't know, right? People interested in classic or the history of science fiction TV shows, movies, books, comics, magazines, authors, tropes. Like, let's say you're interested in the history of telekinesis in science fiction. That could be talked about in here, really. I mean, and science fiction ideas. Also, pop culture, which basically pretty much sums up most of that. That's like me. I'm interested in the history of pop culture. And so, yeah. What does it seem like? Well, I will show you the contents page. This is sort of like what the contents page looks like, right? So, let me see if I can get a good look. See that? Yeah. Okay, so, they have an introduction. They have chapter 1, which is future visions. Graphic summaries of the future as seen in the past and the present. Chapter 2, historical context. Timelines putting science fiction in historical context, followed by analysis of one or more themes associated with the time. Chapter 3, influential magazines. A gallery of the notable and influential magazines from science fiction's different eras. Now, this is why I wanted to talk about this book, because in the future, I'm going to recommend a whole lot of science fiction books, but I'm going to recommend the magazines that they appeared in. Because that's what I like to read. I like to read, oh, you know, this first came out in magazine. You know, people were first reading the story in a magazine, before it got published as a book. That's just like how science fiction was back in the day. And it's so interesting to me. And so, yeah. Chapter 4. Major authors. Timelines charting books, themes, and author debuts year by year, followed by profiles of authors prominent at the time. Chapter 5. Classic titles. A selection of the enduring classics of each period, presented in first or early editions. Chapter 6. Graphic works, like comic books. A gallery of the major illustration trends, comics, and graphic novels. Chapter 7. Genre cinema. Listings of the noteworthy films of each era, followed by an analysis of its concerns. Chapter 8. International television. The history of science fiction on the small screen, with listings and an analysis of trends. So, that's a bit of an idea about the contents. Now, what I also want to show you, this is sort of like, this will show you sort of like the science fiction books that came out during these years, right? And so when I'm talking about the sections of the major author section, I'm talking about this, right? And so I have downloaded a lot of those books mentioned here. And not really like 1800 to 1899, but like the 80s, for example, right? And so, okay, so I'm going to show you some of the bits and pieces. Let's say you're interested in the comics section of it. This is what the comics section will look like. As you can see, they've even got Batman the Dark Knight Returns. Yeah. So, this is the section on films. Well, a part of it. This is kind of like what it would look like. But this is just for the 80s, I guess, and one page of the 80s, I guess. Yeah. This is part of the authors section. Excuse my writing, it's because I love this book. But, yeah. This is part of the television section. This is part of the Japanese comic section. This is part of the European comic section. It's so broad. This is part of the classic titles section. I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I found you guys a new sinking hole. Alright, I'll see you next time. Bye!